If you were tracking Brazilian soccer in 2025, you didn't just witness a season, you watched, well, a financial and strategic review of modern football played out across a single league.
That's a great way to put it. It was a year of just defining extremes.
Absolutely. They had a dynasty built on capital efficiency on one side, and then this frustrating paradox of heavy investment that just didn't deliver on the other.
And that's the perfect framing for this deep dive. Our sources treat the 2025 Brasileirão not just as a domestic league, but almost as a high-stakes international business case study.
Right.
We're really focused on the mechanics under the hood, the balance sheets, the strategic models, and the sheer financial muscle that dictated who won and, maybe more importantly, why they won.
So our mission today is to cut through that noise and uncover those strategic nuggets.
Yeah.
And when we assess 2025, there's really only one place to start. One club set the benchmark. Flamengo. They didn't just win, they established a modern template for how to operate successfully and continuously in South America. All of it rooted in just overwhelming financial efficiency.
Exactly. Flamengo's season, it defined the ceiling. Their operation was so precise that every other club's campaign, whether it was a success or a complete mess, is really measured against the scale of that Mengão machine.
Okay, let's unpack that dynasty, because the sheer dominance was staggering. They established themselves as the unparalleled optimized powerhouse on paper and on the field.
Well, the list of silverware is almost hard to grasp in one season, especially in a league as competitive as Brazil's, under head coach Felipe Luis.
A figure who just transitioned so seamlessly from player to tactical leader.
He really did. They secured the Campeonato Carioca, the Brazilian Super Cup. But the truly historic achievements were capturing their fourth consecutive Copa Libertadores title.
I mean, a fourth consecutive, that's a feat of execution that is just unmatched in the modern era.
Completely unmatched. And on top of that, a record-setting 9th Brasileirão championship.
But I want to push on that word efficiency. In a league known for, financial volatility, how did Flamengo sustain this level of spending and stay healthy enough to win 4 major trophies? What were the specific metrics they nailed?
The sources point to 2 key areas that just set them apart. First, tactical flexibility married to consistency. Felipe Luis didn't have just one system. The squad was so deep they could adjust for a Libertadores rival or just grind out a result in the league.
So they weren't relying on just 1 or 2 brilliant players.
Exactly. And second, and this is critical, was financial maturity. They managed their historical debt years ago, which freed up immense capital for reinvestment. They weren't just spending, they were leveraging successful academy sales, like that major European transfer of their star forward, to fund elite reinforcements without messing up their long-term solvency.
It's a self-sustaining elite loop.
That's it. It sounds like a machine bordering on perfection. And really the only blemish, and you have to dig deep to find it, was losing the FIFA Intercontinental Cup.
And that loss came against Paris Saint-Germain on penalties after a really high-level, tight final.
Which just emphasizes how consistently they operated at that global elite level. They really set the gold standard.
So if Flamengo was this perfect symphony of financial and tactical efficiency turning the page to Palmeiras, well, it reveals a much harsher reality.
It really does.
This is where massive capital investment just couldn't quite buy the necessary happiness. They're the stark paradox of the 2025 season.
And what's fascinating here is the sheer cost of that frustration. Palmeiras operated with, arguably the most expensive squad in the entire country, year after year.
Their ownership just kept sanctioning these aggressive investments in the transfer market.
Right, targeting established international names, retaining veterans on huge contracts. But when you look at the trophy cabinet at the end of the year, the silverware they wanted was just painfully absent.
And the losses were direct blows. They missed a historic four-peat of the São Paulo State Championship, losing the final to their biggest rival, Corinthians.
And then they were just constantly in Flamengo's shadow, runners up to them in both the Copa Libertadores and the Brasileirão.
So this contrast, it raises a really critical question for you to consider. Why didn't all that spending translate?
Palmeiras had the capital, they had the big names, but Flamengo just operated with greater strategic precision. They turned every dollar into performance. Palmeiras, well, they symbolized a high-stakes, high-cost effort that just fell short in the decisive moments. A really tough lesson.
A very tough lesson. We absolutely need to pivot now, move outside those big financial centers to what was, I think, the biggest strategic success story of the year. the Mirassol model.
Oh, this club is a beacon for every organization that doesn't have a massive budget. In their debut year in the top flight, Mirassol didn't just survive.
They did more than survive. They finished fourth in the Brasileirão.
Which means direct qualification to the Copa Libertadores group stage. Given their resources, that's not just an achievement, it's a structural miracle.
So how did they pull this off against clubs with 10, 20 times their wage bill?
The sources point to one man, head coach Rafael Guanais, and a meticulously crafted project. Mirassol's success wasn't built on stars, but on cohesion, on tactical discipline, and a very modern attacking style of football.
So they weren't buying big names?
No, they scouted and developed high-potential domestic talent that fit a very specific, high-pressing identity. They succeeded through clarity and execution. It just proves that financial muscle is optional if your structural planning is, well, flawless.
Wow. Okay, so if Mirassol is the strategic miracle, we now have to talk about pure chaos and resilience. Let's introduce the Corinthians anomaly, a club that somehow defied every single expectation.
The atmosphere there must have been like navigating a financial and political emergency every single day. The list of challenges they face, it reads like a playbook for how to get relegated.
Ongoing presidential impeachment proceedings, severe financial instability, we're talking delayed payments.
And real, genuine relegation fears deep into the season.
Yet despite all of that chaos, they lifted 2 major trophies. It's incredible. They took the São Paulo State Championship final against their high-spending rivals Palmeiras.
And then later secured the Copa do Brasil against Vasco da Gama. It's just a testament to club culture and veteran leadership overriding organizational dysfunction. When the systems fail, the shirt keeps you winning.
And speaking of that final, we have to mention Vasco. Another excruciating season for them, flirting with relegation and extending a trophy drought that now goes well beyond a decade.
It just underscores how fragile that historical hierarchy has become.
Let's look at strategic resets now and the painful cost of delayed planning. We have to start with Botafogo. They were champions in 2024, winning both the Libertadores and Brasileirão, only to suffer a complete and dramatic fall from grace.
Their disaster really stemmed from a perfect storm of poor administrative decisions. The sources highlight 3 fatal errors: delayed coaching decisions after their champion coach left, the sale of key defensive players integral to their 2024 success, and just fundamentally flawed squad planning. They learned a brutal lesson that continuity is priceless.
But they did manage a vital recovery late in the year. That strong push got them a spot in the Libertadores qualifiers. So does the appointment of Martin Anselmi as coach signal that they're, self-correcting.
Absolutely. Bringing in Anselmi, who is known for structural rigor, was a direct attempt to stop the bleeding and rebuild the foundation they had torn down. They're moving back toward a project.
Fluminense's season was a similar tale, really, a tale of 2 halves. They started the league poorly, but then had this very strong showing at the FIFA Club World Cup in the US, reaching the semis.
And the narrative there clearly hinged on the arrival of head coach Luis Nobeldia. He provided the clarity and tactical direction they were missing. After he arrived, they gained momentum, secured direct Libertadores qualification, and just ended the year with a much clearer identity.
And then there's Cruzeiro, who are positioning themselves strategically. They showed signs of stability, good consistency in the league, but they kept losing in those big, decisive moments.
But what's critical for you to watch here isn't their trophy count, but their outlook. Their movement in the transfer market, targeting high-upside, young South American talent, suggests a really deliberate strategic repositioning. They're building a foundation for a sustained push in the near future.
Let's quickly sweep the wider landscape. São Paulo had a pretty unremarkable campaign. Solid mid-table, no real challenge for silverware. Bahia, though, they secured a valuable Libertadores qualifier spot. Smart incremental growth there.
And we have to highlight the Santos situation. It's a huge commercial and sentimental story. They narrowly avoided relegation again, but they retained Neymar for 2026.
Which fueled a lot of, let's say, cautious optimism. That's a key piece of potential value commercially and on the field that could totally transform their narrative.
It could. On the other end, the relegations were brutal. Fortaleza suffered a shocking collapse after their recent success, and Ceará made a swift, unwelcome return to Serie B.
But the season did deliver one of the most emotional storylines, proving the sport's heart is still regional. Coritiba and Atlético Paranaense got promoted back up.
But the real symbolic moment belongs to Clube de Remo, their return to Serie A after more than 3 decades. It just ignited the entire northern region of Brazil. It's a powerful reminder that soccer is still driven by deep, regional history.
So we've dissected the clubs, the finances, the strategies. Now we have to pivot to the national mandate. This was arguably the biggest strategic and cultural move of the year.
Without a doubt.
The Brazilian Football Confederation made a bold, historic decision to appoint Carlo Ancelotti as head coach.
This is a seismic event. Ancelotti isn't just a coach, he's a global strategist. His experience is, well, it's virtually unmatched. We're talking Real Madrid, AC Milan, Chelsea, PSG, Juventus, Bayern Munich. His arrival is a clear acknowledgement that the national team needed a high-level external structural change.
How significant is it that Brazil, which has always relied on homegrown coaches, turned to a proven external European strategist? What's the core implication here?
It signals a complete strategic reset. It's designed to inject world-class modern tactical thinking and restore Brazil's competitiveness ahead of the 2026 World Cup. It's about more than just winning games. It's about integrating proven European methods directly into the national team's structure.
A massive gamble on short-term gain leading to long-term improvement.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean when we wrap up the 2025 season? I think the closing assessment has to be positive. Flamengo's dominance didn't just win titles, it established a new, formidable benchmark that everyone else has to aspire to now.
Absolutely. And the strong international performances by Brazilian clubs, Flamengo in the Libertadores, Fluminense at the Club World Cup, they indicated a definite narrowing of the gap with Europe's elite. There's real momentum heading into 2026.
So our final provocative thought for you to mull over is this. With financial power now so concentrated and strategic recruitment getting more sophisticated, how will this new benchmark set by Flamengo's efficiency challenge the established hierarchy of the sport?
And more broadly, what will be the long-term cultural and tactical impact of integrating a global strategist like Ancelotti at the very top? Will his reset fundamentally change the national soccer identity over the next few years, forcing everyone to prioritize tactical structure over individual brilliance? That's the question that will define the narrative heading into the 2026 World Cup campaign.